I wanted to draw a picture that describes effectively the false left-right paradigm. The Republican Party props up the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party props up the Republican Party. By itself, a single-party system will fall over. But if you take the two-party systems and you lean them up against each other, this is basically the arch. Their force going together keeps them together and makes it become a very strong, stable platform on which they can build their hierarchical New World Order system. So the current two-party system has been dominated and bought up and controlled by the elite that sits atop it. Now the elite with a one-party system would not be balanced on top of one party. They would be subject to being toppled. But you put the two parties up against each other, they form a royal arch. And now it's very hard to separate those two because they're leaning up against each other.
Perfect example of my argument that I've made, and I think you generally agree with it, there's not a whole lot of difference between the two parties.
No.
You know, they're owned by the same people.
There's one puppet master that controls the left, and there's the same puppet master controls the right. They control the Republican Party, and they control the Democratic Party.
People talk to me about, the issue of Republican versus Democrat, as if they don't get it. And I say, look, here's the way you get it. It's organized crime. All you do is you call the Republicans the Genoveses, and you call the Democrats the Gambinos. The people at the top, they treat it like a crap game, like it's their crap game, like they're making lots of money. Occasionally, somebody at the table shoots each other, but the moment anything threatens their crap game, they all unite to protect it. They're both controlled by the same financial, economic, and corporate interests.
But we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy.
I don't believe in this notion of some sort of secret societies controlling people. But of course, in any political system, there are sort of over-the-table and under-the-table arrangements.
Are you trying to rule the world?
Well, let's say no. But if we were, would I tell you? No.
2009 is also the first year of global governance, with the establishment of the G20 in the middle of the financial crisis. The climate conference in Copenhagen is another step towards the global management of our planet.
Going to have to take global responsibilities, and there is going to have to be some semblance of global governance on these questions.
We need a new way of thinking, a government that thinks big, that has a global perspective.
The federal government of Canada has proven. They've proven beyond any shadow of a doubt that confiscation is the agenda.
Little by little, they're going to take all of our rights away from us, confiscate all of our guns, and we're going to be left with nothing.
I came to Canada because it was free, and they say, look at it, it's not free anymore. We got a government that's climbing all over us.
That guns are here to defend us from the overwhelming force of government, of the Hitler, of the Stalin, of the Mao. And dictators throughout history, right back to Nero, have sought to disarm their quarry, to disarm their slaves.
Bill C-6 does, for the first time I'm aware of in Canadian history, is it allows Health Canada inspectors, and remember they are a police force, to seize property without asking a court for permission, and there's no limits. They literally could, they can seize your bank accounts, they could seize your commercial premises, they can seize any consumer property even after it's been sold to the consumer. They never have to report it to a court. No court supervision at all. In many cases they can destroy it. And you understand it's a complete move away from the rule of law. What we're allowing is, we're allowing a precedent to be set that allows the rule of law to be destroyed in Canada. The very thing that many of our ancestors fought and died for.
No-fly lists, tougher identification rules, all part of the war on terrorism that will only intensify here in BC with the approach of the Olympic Games.
But critics are saying tonight that it could be like the taser situation all over again. Law enforcement using a tool that is untested in this country.
This is an LRAD.
The LRAD 500, or the long-range acoustic device. It's the latest tool in the Vancouver Police Department's arsenal. It's a high-end loudspeaker. Unlike a conventional megaphone, the LRAD emits highly directional sound waves. The message can be heard by people 2 kilometers away.
Efficiency in enforcing Olympic rules, or is it a Canadian version of totalitarian control? It's a proposed provincial law that would give temporary new powers to the cities of Vancouver, Richmond, and Whistler.
Alyssa Westergaard-Thorpe doesn't like the Olympics and has her protest signs ready to go. But under a proposed new BC law, she could get fined or even thrown in jail for 6 months if she refuses to take them down.
Technically, it would mean that you couldn't put up a lost cat poster, you couldn't give out a leaflet for a bake sale. So it definitely means you can't put up anti-Olympic posters.
Catching a plane in Kelowna. Airport security workers could be catching a glimpse of you. A very revealing glimpse. A new device now being tested at Kelowna International, letting staff see through your clothes.
All the air traveler has to do is stand legs apart with their hands over their heads, a bit like a person under arrest might do. Easy enough. And just like that, it's done. Up comes a cartoon-like image of me, complete with red flags indicating where my cell phone and wireless mic were hidden. But there's nothing cartoon-like about the images that are being viewed behind the scenes. In fact, some travelers find the whole thing a little too invasive.
Everything he does on the web passes through the company that provides him with internet service. He's angry the government wants to give police easier access to that information. The bill introduced today would require internet service providers to hand over the name, address, and telephone number of any customer the police are interested in. No need for a court order.
If police choose to do it, they have to notify you after their investigation is over. They also have to report to Parliament how many times do they do these wiretaps. Now, with these emergency ones where police take it into their own hands and they feel it's so urgent, they never go before a judge, they never have to notify anybody, and they never have to report to Parliament how often they're using this power. So it's completely in the dark, and Canadians simply do not know how often police forces are really using this.
Officers have been saying it all along, and now police in Quebec have confirmed the allegations. The force is admitting that 3 undercover officers were among the protesters at this week's North American Leaders Summit in Montebello, Quebec. They're denying, however, that they were there to provoke protesters into committing acts of violence.
This is a tactic used by this government and many others to take away from what the real issue is. There's many people. We were there to deliver a petition, 10,000 people opposed to the SPP. The government can't allow that debate to take place. They want it to look like it's a bunch of hooligans.
Well, transit police said today they have no intention of changing their policy despite public outcry. Earlier this week, we learned transit police were using tasers on so-called non-compliant passengers, some of them described as non-violent fare evaders.
Says using the potentially deadly weapon on non-violent, non-compliant passengers is an abuse of power.
Is it the way of the future or just another fad? Seems some people are considering throwing away keys to the house and car in favor of a computer chip implanted in the wrist.
Right now, this kind of technology is used for tracking cattle and identifying lost pets. Retailers also use it for tracking packages through the system.
It is the same type of chip that has been implanted in pets to help identify them when they are lost. But critics argue that humans are not pets. And privacy groups staged a vigil outside the Alzheimer's Center to protest what they see as Big Brother branding.
It's your brain. This is your brain on a microchip.
A brain cell talks to the chip, and chip can talk back to the brain cells.
Professor Syed says a working chip may be as close as 5 years away for the public.
Then all it takes to render you a non-citizen is to simply turn that chip off. You will no longer be able to really participate in any function in society, including buy food.
So through the implementation of the Federal Reserve System, the American citizen has gone from being a private individual who had real money, gold, in his possession that was private, to a citizen who has no privacy because all money is now being digitized.
They just want to keep tabs on us. So we're turning into a surveillance, wiretapped government state. The government is taking more and more control over our lives.
Well, another announcement today by President-elect Obama giving new life to the North American Union, a plan by business and political elites to tear down the trade barriers among the United States, Canada, and Mexico, and to create a NAFTA superhighway. all of which to be done without the approval of Congress or the American people.
I don't want to believe it, and that's probably what holds me back on it, but I'm certainly seeing enough indication that it could be true. Absolutely, because they're always talking about Mexico and the United States and Canada ending up like Europe. And there's things done politically that seem to take us in that direction.
Understand, go back to 2005. President Bush, Mexican President Vicente Fox, and then Canadian Prime Minister Paul Martin launched what's called the Security and Prosperity Partnership, a trade and economic partnership that many see as a precursor to a North American Union modeled after Europe.
They may well be doing something decent and good. Who knows? Maybe there are some benefits of these things they're suggesting. But to me, it's sort of a collusion between secret government and big business, and I don't like what I see coming.